Back like we never left, B.D.A, and today we're here to talk about Caribou, the super rookie that was mentioned or we saw in the previous chapter or the recent chapter, swearing fealty to Luffy and the prospect of him becoming a Straw Hat Pirate. That has been the hot topic recently, and a lot of people feel that Caribou actually has a chance of becoming a Straw Hat. Now, we're going to talk about it, but first, we have to go through actually who Caribou is. A lot of people, I think, it's been so long, people forget things that's transpired with Caribou, and I'm not sure how many people have read the actual cover story to remember exactly what he's gone through and how he got to where he is now. So we're going to talk about all of that, delve deeper into Caribou's character a little bit, and just evaluate whether or not he could actually be a Straw Hat. First, where did we meet Caribou? We met Caribou for the first time at Sabaody Archipelago. He's mentioned before by Damara Black, saying that's one of the guys that we were recruited, right? Him and his brother, Caribou. But then we see him in chapter 600, right? And he was basically strolling by and he figured out where a Marine was, and he saw the Marine and he actually overheard the Marine saying that these guys are doing really bad things, essentially, right? Doing really bad things. I think that's maybe could be observation hockey. Regardless, he figured out where this guy was and stabbed him. Stabbed the guy. At the end of the day, he was trying to bury the Marine alive. And apparently he's known as the Marine killer. That's one of the things that he does. He kills a lot of Marines. And he has this weird obsession or way he uses God. Caribou, his intention was to destroy the Straw Hats from within, to join the Straw Hats and then take them out one by one. But then, of course, the Straw Hats we were following was the fake Straw Hats with Damara Black and Drip and all those guys, Manjaro. He was following those guys to take them out. So after the real Straw Hat shows up, the real Luffy, the real Zoro, the real Sanji, and then he finds out exactly that they were lying. So he lines them up, and guess what he's about to do? Bury those guys alive as well. So that's his thing, burying people alive. And then actually looked like he suffocated Drip, who is the fake Sanji. Fitting. Sentomaru said that he escaped along with some of the fake Straw Hat Pirates, which he buried, and the actual real Straw Hat Pirates. So he escaped, and he actually went after the Straw Hat Pirates after they left Sabaody. He catches up because he's getting his ship pulled by Momu, right? And Momu, if you remember, he's from Arlong Park, who got attacked by the Straw Hats before. So when he saw them again, Momu freaks out. Caribou gets separated from his actual crew, so he's on the Straw Hat ship by himself. So this guy, he's on the ship by himself, facing all the Straw Hats. Now, he's very perceptive because when he realized he was outnumbered, he did not reveal his ability right away. He let them attack him, and he took all the attacks right away. And because he's a Logia, so regular attacks should go right through him. Of course, Sanji attacked him. We know Sanji's a hockey user, but in that moment, it didn't seem like he used hockey. But he took it. He took it, and then, he apologized, said, yo, let me stay on the ship. So somewhat similar to what he's doing to Luffy now. He did not swear to always be a follower of Frankie when he did it. Oh, he was saying, yo, let me stay on the ship. That was his first instance of interaction with the Straw Hats, and it went on in which after he escaped, right? He escaped, and then he got into a barrel. Frankie found him, and then Frankie even said, yeah, like, he's an idiot. If he wasn't such an idiot, we'd be in trouble because he's a Logia, and he was perceptive enough to hide the fact that he was a Logia. So Caribou, while not being super strong, he is very perceptive. I mean, he had a 210 million berry bounty by the time he got to Sabaody. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, he was a supernova. As far as bad things, that was not the only bad thing he did, because after being captured by the Straw Hats, they get to Fishman Island. The barrel gets separated from the Straw Hats, and some mermaids find the barrel, they open them, and he actually captures the mermaids. After he catches the mermaids, his goal was to actually sell these mermaids for money. So that's another thing that he's doing, capitalizing on every opportunity. Of course, after capturing these mermaids, he happens upon a conversation with King Neptune and Robin. They're talking about Shirahoshi. So this is where Caribou finds out that Shirahoshi is actually an ancient weapon, and that's where the theories come from as far as Caribou and everything with Kaido. But before we get to that, Caribou now notices that, okay, this is an opportunity for me to use this to capture Shirahoshi, because then he sees Shirahoshi, tries to capture her, and then he gets taken out, right? It's also interesting because Caribou, we find out more about his fruit, and then he implies or he indicates that the fruit, the swamp fruit, is bottomless, because when he was capturing the first regular mermaids, he was saying, hey, they were surprised that a swamp was just there in Fishman Island. He said, no, this is my swamp, this is my fruit as a Logia, and it's a bottomless pit. So it seems like he can have anything in himself, right? So somewhat like Blackbeard and how Blackbeard absorbed an entire town into his body and then spit it out. So Caribou seems like he can have a lot in him. As we saw, he abducted treasures as well. So in the process of abducting Shirahoshi, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, they find him. They take him out pretty easily. Then he wakes up. They're gone. Peckham's and Tamago's there. He attacks Peckham's and Tamago, gets taken out pretty easily there. And he comes back again, tries to do some more bad things and kidnap more mermaids. Jinbei then takes him out and delivers him to G5. So now he's with G5 and he gets saved by his brother Caribou, who got taken out, or who got somewhat lost when he was trying to abduct the Straw Hats when they were on their way to Fishman Island and they were facing the Kraken and all that. So I guess we can talk a bit about Caribou and his interactions with the Straw Hats. So now, when he was on this ship, after he tried to kill the Straw Hats, or when they were on their way to Fishman Island, they happened upon a Kraken, and Caribou was a bit scared. He was like, okay, I did not know these things existed. And he even helped the Straw Hats to say, this is how you can fight underwater. He gave him info because he did not want to die. And he had some back and forth with Usopp. Personality-wise, he probably would mesh more with Usopp because they are front runners, right? When things are going well, they're right there with you. When things are going bad, they're not with it. So that's the personality that Caribou has. He's very cautious, and he even was trying to help the Straw Hats. So as far as personality, I could see it working, but based on the things he did, I really can't see it. So then after the Jinbei stuff, after Jinbei delivers him to G5, just think about all the bad stuff he had done by killing people, burying people, trying to abduct mermaids and sell them into slavery. We have some more story as far as what he did after that. Of course, this was not in the actual manga, but it was shown in the cover stories, which are canon. So after Jinbei takes him to G5, the cover story then goes into what happens, right? So Caribou is saved by his brother Caribou, right? They get defeated actually by G5, and Caribou leaves his brother Caribou, sails away on the ship that they got. He gets washed up in some waves, had to leave on a lifeboat, and he gets onto this random island. He wakes up with a random grandma, right? So grandma, she's nursing him back to health, and he takes advantage of her, steals some of her stuff, but then he comes back and she's still trying to help him, right? Still trying to help him and do all this stuff for Caribou. He then finds out the reason why this old woman was helping him was because he resembled her grandson, Gabiru. Because of this, he then goes back to the house because the revolutionaries, Gabiru was a commander of the revolutionaries of that town. At the same time, Scotch, a subordinate of Kaido, he came to the island and then he attacked the town and he attacked the grandmother's house. Caribou goes to the grandmother's house, see her being attacked, and she tells him to go away. He runs away. So then he comes back dressed up as Gabiru, and he actually defeats Scott. He started to care about the grandmother because she nursed him back to health, gave him pies, all this stuff. That showed some good in him, right? Where he could have just left, right? Could have just left the grandmother, but he came back, decided to save her because Scotch was going to make an example out of the grandmother. He then realized that he had an odd resemblance to her grandson, Gabu, who was killed. He thought that's the only reason why she was helping him. At the end, he realized that she always knew it wasn't him, but she was just being a good grandma, right? So right after he defeats Scotch and he saves the town, X-Drake comes. X-Drake comes and defeats him and drags him away. The famous picture of him being dragged away is from X-Drake. So long story short, gets washed up on an island. Grandma tries to save him and nurse him back to health. He tries to leave. Scotch comes in. He defeats Scotch, and then he becomes the savior of the town. Drake comes in, defeats him, and then drags him away. And that's how he ends up in Udon prison because, of course, Drake is now a subordinate of Kaido. So that's how all that tied in, and that's all in the cover story for Caribou. So now, present time in the story, he's sworn fealty to Luffy, and now people are saying, could he become a Straw Hat Pirate? A lot of people are saying because Luffy can sense emotions and sense who people are, he probably is a different guy. But Caribou is a very conniving guy. Based on everything that has transpired, and from what we know of Caribou, he says things all the time just to get out of his situation. So is he a good guy right now? I don't think so, but I think out of fear, he would listen to Luffy and not do anything currently to double cross Luffy. Of course, he still has his knowledge of Poseidon and Shirahoshi, so he could use that to his advantage. Also, he's just not a good dude. He's still a pirate, but could he actually join the crew? Now, every time we go to a new island, there's somebody that we think could probably join the crew. We go all the way back to Gaimon. We can go to Rebecca. We can go to Vivi, who had a considerable chance, and she was, a lot of people still consider her a Straw Hat Pirate. I don't. But there's every arc where we feel like somebody could join the crew. No, Carrot and Pedro is one. No, Momo is the discussion, which I agree with Carrot and Momo. But now, Caribou is the thought. Now let's go back to Caesar on Punk Hazard, or after Punk Hazard and in Whole Cake Island. People thought that Caesar could have joined the crew. We didn't get much backstory on Caesar. We found out that, he owed Big Mom and things that he did in the past, but we didn't know exactly everything to know about Caesar. We have to have a sad backstory for you. Of course, with Caribou, we have some backstories with him and his grandmother saying never to leave his brother alone and should work together, but he literally abandoned his brother after he came to save him. So he's not really a man of his word. So I guess you can think about it from a standpoint of him versus Caesar, who is the worst guy. Caesar was giving kids things to poison them and eventually kill them as experiments. Caribou was literally killing Marines and other pirates and doing whatever he wanted to get ahead. He was willing to sell mermaids into slavery. He was trying to capture Shirahoshi. He wanted to take out all the Straw Hat pirates. As far as who's worse, hard to say. Kids, Marines, pirates. At the end of the day, I don't think he can just switch it and be a good guy now. Now, I think there's a 0% chance that he actually joins the crew, but he could be somewhat of an ally. The thing with Luffy is that he's brilliant, right? Luffy is brilliant, and when you see Luffy up close, you cannot believe just how amazing he is. And of course, Luffy's special power is to draw people close to him. So I think that's what's going to happen to Caribou to turn over a new leaf. I think Luffy sees some good in him because as we saw from the cover story, there is some good in him, and I think there's a bit of good in everyone. I don't think he can actually join the crew. There's not enough there. It would be dope if we actually got a Logia. I know a lot of people hate the swamp fruit because it's not as powerful as like magma fruit or Enel's fruit or Kizaru's. No, but I think in the right hands, it can be very useful. And I think it's actually going to be used here to hide a lot of things with, because it's a bottomless pit. And if you can have Caribou and use him to help your cause, I'm all for it. Will Caribou join the crew? Absolutely not. Will he join the allies? I think so. I think at this point it's going to be like a Bellamy situation where he realizes that Luffy and the things that Luffy is doing is just so brilliant and amazing. He's going to be blown away and he's going to end up joining the alliance. So guys, give me your thoughts on Caribou. What do you think about him? Do you think he has a chance to join the crew? Just leave your general thoughts below. Like the video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.